Justice Democrats are making waves in Washington, D.C., and the establishment is now on notice. So Howard Dean, who is one of these corporate Democrats, was on the favorite show of insider elites. The people in that tight-knit D.C. circle love this show. He was on Morning Joe, and he alluded to Justice Democrats. So there are people who are getting the message. Let's watch, and then I want to come back and break it down for you.
So there are two things going on here. One is something that always happens is with the politicians in Washington are always behind where their base is. These folks are, I'd be a little harsh to say they haven't learned anything since 2006, but they are not where the base is. Mm-hmm. This is one of the extraordinary things about this election has not been discussed, which is for the first time the young people in this country are really mobilized to consider an institutional, joining an institution. They all voted for Obama because he was like them, he was multicultural and so forth. But they're not Democrats.
Right.
Today, they're now working for the Democrats. There's a website that was just put up, and they got 250,000 people to agree to swing left, and they got 1,000 people to agree to run for office. Now, this is unorganized and disorganized, but it's young people for the first time understanding that institutions matter.
Right.
Because what Trump's election is a negation of every single value that somebody under 35 in this country has. They value diversity, they value inclusion, they value pragmatic discussion. They can't stand the dialogue that's going on in Washington because it's always taking blowtorches to each other.
Howard,
that's not where the politicians are yet, but they're going to have to learn to get there because that's where the base is. Yes.
Get a database.
Exactly.
There's one very important part that you left out, Howard Dean. We're not just mobilized to oppose Trump. Now, we are, and whenever he crosses a line and pushes a policy that we find abhorrent, we won't give an inch, we won't give a centimeter, we won't give a millimeter, and we will obstruct him better than any of you guys will. But it's not just about obstructing Trump. It's also about holding him accountable. So when he says stuff like, we're not going to cut Social Security, we go, okay, great, we're going to work together. And if you go back on your word, then we're going to pounce. But furthermore, it's also about coming after guys like you. So Howard Dean, for those of you who don't know, he was the Bernie Sanders of the 2004 election. Now, it feels gross even putting him in the same sentence with Bernie Sanders because soon thereafter, when he lost, I think he briefly was the front runner, but he lost in the primary. He promptly sold out, and he became a lobbyist. And he's been trying to pull the wool over everybody's eyes since and pretend like he's not a corporate Democrat, and he's not an establishment Democrat, and he's not a sellout, when he's a gigantic sellout. So Howard Dean, the other part of it is, the reason why we're mobilized, the reason why we're organized, is because we're coming after Donald Trump and the Republicans, and we're coming after you. The corporate Democrats, the establishment Democrats, the Democrats who lost their way and forgot that they actually have to represent the people and fight for the right policies. You can't use the issues anymore as a wave to ride to get into power, and then once you're in there, you stab the people in the back and you start doing the bidding of your donors. So all the Cory Bookers, all the Chuck Schumers, all the Nancy Pelosi's, everybody who voted against Bernie Sanders' amendment recently to lower the cost of prescription drugs, everybody who voted for Mike Pompeo, Trump's new CIA head, who said Edward Snowden should be executed and he called torturers patriotic, everybody who bends and buckles and says, you know what, maybe I'm not all that liberal on this issue or that issue, and everybody who is a sellout, we're coming for you. And that's the reason why this movement has legs, and that's the reason why this movement has support. Because Justice Democrats take a pledge. We're taking no corporate money. We're taking no billionaire money. So big money donors are not a thing to us. We don't want big money donors. You know what we want? We want you. We want the accountant. We want the construction worker. We want the teacher. We want regular people. We want working people. We want people who understand that the government is broken and it doesn't work for them. We want people who understand how much they're getting screwed over. The United States is the only modern nation that doesn't have universal health care. You're getting screwed. Many people don't even know it, but some do. And the ones who know it and want to fix it, come join us, justicedemocrats.com. So you can sign up. You can sign your name in support of the movement. You can nominate yourself to run as a candidate. You can nominate somebody you know to run as a candidate, because this truly is grassroots. It really is from the ground up. So we look at the candidates, we vet the candidates. Out of the candidates we pick, we train them, and the idea is we primary all of the corporate Democrats to make the Democratic Party strong. And then with a robust, strong Democratic Party that doesn't take any corporate and billionaire money, the sky's the limit. We should be able to run roughshod over the Republicans, because understand, their official positions are deeply unpopular. Over 90% of the American people want a universal background check on guns. We didn't get it, and Mitch McConnell filibustered it. You can't beat a guy who just slapped over 90% of the American people in the face. How sad are you? 80% of the American people want a minimum wage increase, including a majority of your average Joe Republicans. But the Republicans in D.C. are blocking it. How could you not win an election solely based on that issue? Hey, these guys want you to work full time and not make enough money to survive. Isn't that crazy? These guys are in favor of wage slavery. Well, we're here to fight back against that. We're here to implement the policies that you want. 55% of the American people want a single-payer healthcare system. So you can't win on an issue where 55% of people are with you. 58% want to legalize marijuana. I mean, this is, with the Republicans being reliably on the wrong side of all these issues, it should be easy to beat them in an election, but the corporate Democrats can't do that because they lost their way and they lost their soul. Well, we're here to find it for them. We're here to be what the Democratic Party was supposed to be all along. Now, let me give you some updated facts here on Justice Democrats so you can see how well it's going. So there's been 2,240 nominations. It ain't 1,000. It ain't 1,500. 2,240 people are interested in running as a Justice Democrat. These are people that are going to be trained. They're going to be vetted. We're going to look at who the best candidates are, and then we're going to run the top of the top. And so this is why the corporate Democrats should be scared, because it's a house of cards. They're just propped up by big money. They don't know anything. They don't care about the issues. Well, what happens when you go head-to-head with somebody who's got people power behind them, who's propped up by small donors, and they care about the issues, and the American people are with them, and they're with the American people? Then you're in trouble, aren't you? You're in trouble, aren't you, Chuck Schumer? You're in trouble, aren't you, Cory Booker? So we have 2,240 nominations. We have 17,600 donors. So far, we've raised $315,000. Now, again, this I need to stress for people. We are at an institutional disadvantage in that the corporate Democrats, they have a house of cards that's propped up by corporate money and big donor money, but they have a house nonetheless. So we start out with nothing. We start out with no house, no foundation, no framework, no nothing. So we have to build it from the ground up, and it has to be grassroots support. And we can't go to George Soros or to, you name a donor on the left and say, hey, give us $2 million, and then, that'll be a start. No, again, ground up. We need it from working people. We need it $27 at a time, which is why it's so important that you get involved, because $315,000 ain't going to take back Congress. Now, that's great. Don't get me wrong, especially since we launched, a little over a week ago. But we need more, and we need it from regular people, from working people, and we have to build it from the ground up, and we have to have people that are going to represent you and not represent billionaires and corporations. So 315,000 so far. Now, furthermore, people who have signed up to say, we are part of Justice Democrats, we are signing our name in support of Justice Democrats, 95,000 people so far. You go find, I'm not sure you can find it. I'm not sure it exists. But what other group has gotten in about a week 95,000 people supporting it? I don't know. Has there been? No, the reality is we tapped into something here. Now, again, I want to address a criticism that we've gotten consistently from the beginning that I've tried to be on the record about, and I've tried to clear up any confusion out there. Some people say, look, it's a fool's errand. The Democratic Party is so beyond broken and it's so beyond corrupt that you can't do it and it ain't going to work. So why even try? Do a third party. You're getting on board a sinking ship, the argument goes. Well, according to our research, we looked into it, and we thought about doing a third party. But the reality is the institutional biases against third parties are too strong. So I've brought up this analogy before because I think it's true. It's like taking a sledgehammer, swinging it at one of your kneecaps, and then trying to run a marathon. Why would you swing the sledgehammer at your kneecap when you could run the marathon with 2 functioning legs? So we're trying to run the marathon with 2 functioning legs. Take the issue of closed primaries. In many states across the U.S., you have to be registered as a Democrat to vote in the Democratic primary for president. Why would you not register as a Democrat and then not be able to vote in what's probably the most important election of your lifetime? It certainly was with the last one, Bernie Sanders versus Hillary Clinton. For just because you want to have a different title by your name? Oh, I wanted to say something else, so I'm not going to register as a Democrat, so I'm going to, shoot myself in the foot and not participate in something I should participate in because there are closed primaries. Now, don't get me wrong. We want to open the primaries, and we will fight for that once we're in power, and we're fighting to make third parties a more viable option. We want to do ranked choice voting so that they are a viable option. But right now, that's just not the case. They're just not a viable option, and there are institutional biases against them, and on closed primaries alone, the best chance of success is to go in and take over the Democratic Party. Why would you just concede that, oh yeah, you guys have it, go ahead, corporatists, establishment, hacks, elite pricks, go ahead, you take the Democratic Party, and we're just gonna, we'll go eat a sandwich. No, what the fuck? Why would we lay down? Why would we give up? Why would we just concede it? No, it's our party, now you get out, bitch! If you're a corporate Democrat, if you're an establishment Democrat, get out! We don't want you in here! That's the whole point of this, is to wage a revolution from within. Now, even given all the institutional disadvantages against third parties, like I said, we're still your ally. You might not think I'm your ally. You might not think Justice Democrats are your ally, but we are your ally. So I'm happy that there are people trying to wage the revolution from without via a third party route. And while you do that, we're going to do it from within. We just happen to think our way is the best chance of success. And again, to directly address the point, but hold on, the problem, there was mass voter fraud and there was this issue and that issue, so they're not even going to let you're not going to win in any way, either way. So why would you try to go from within? My response to that is Bernie Sanders is a sitting senator right now. So what does that prove? That proves it's not impossible to get principled liberals and progressives who care about the people in there. It's just hard. So I'll take my chances with hard. I won't take it with impossible because impossible is by definition impossible and it's a fool's errand and you're wasting your time. But it's not impossible. Bernie Sanders is already a senator. He's one of the 100 most powerful people in the country. So the idea that everything is so totally rigged and that it is literally impossible to do it, no, it's just hard. I get it. I saw it too. You look at the primary in this last election, the DNC was behind the scenes tipping the scales the entire time against Bernie Sanders. Whether it be Debbie Wasserman Schultz saying to the media, saying to MSNBC hosts, hey, I don't like the way you're treating me. How about I go to your boss and tell them that I think this is unfair and maybe you don't get access anymore. Whether it was that, whether it was atheist shaming Bernie Sanders in the Midwest to try to give more support for Hillary, whether it was people in the DNC slipping questions to Hillary in advance, whether it was them trying to hide the debates. I get it. There were massive biases against Bernie Sanders. That is clear. And given all the biases against them and the establishment media not taking him seriously and all the ways in which they tried to undercut him, it's a miracle he won 22 states and he got 47% of the vote. But understand, at the end of the day, even with those disadvantages, what he showed is, hey, I could get to 22 states. Hey, I got to 47% of the vote. Hey, I overrode a lot of the things that were coming against me. Did better than anybody originally thought he could do. The pundits would have laughed at the idea of him winning one state. He won 22 states. He almost got 50% of the vote. So even though they biased it against him, he still almost won. You know what that tells me? That tells me you take that ball and run it into the end zone. You don't go back home and put your tail between your legs and start crying. So we got to fight on. It's not impossible. It's just really, really hard. The idea that, Debbie Wasserman Schultz and the DNC, despite how corrupt and grotesque they are, that they've directly hacked into voting machines and directly turned it over to Hillary Clinton, and it was flat out rigged as opposed to biased. Well, that's just not true. I don't agree with you if you say that. I don't agree with you if you say it is flat out rigged and he had zero chance from the beginning. No, it was just massively biased against him. There's a difference. And that difference is everything. And if it really was, if we really are dealing in a system that is rigged in every sense of the term, then Bernie Sanders wouldn't be a fucking sitting senator right now and one of the most 100 powerful people in the country. You wouldn't have a progressive caucus. You know, people say, hey, what kind of people are we trying to get elected? Well, look, maybe not everybody in the progressive caucus really belongs in the progressive caucus. In fact, I think that's definitely the case. But at a bare minimum, 25% of the people in the progressive caucus, probably more than that, are great politicians who are doing the right thing. Now, unfortunately, the progressive caucus is too small and there aren't nearly as many principled liberals and progressives as we want, but that's what we're fighting for. And that's what we're going to get. So it's not impossible. It's just really, really hard. And one thing that is going to annoy me is that when you have people who are doubters today, and then they see the gains we make, and they'll come back and say, oh, Justice Democrats, oh, yeah, no, I love Justice Democrats. It was a great idea. I was always on board with it. Don't do that. Don't do that. Look, if you have a strategic disagreement with us, God bless. Ironically, because obviously I'm a non-religious person. But that's fine. You could disagree with us strategically. Now, again, I think in that argument, we win, because I think it's just fairly factual that it is harder to succeed if you're a third party versus taking over the Democratic Party. But if you're somebody who agrees with the goals of Justice Democrats and you still oppose us, well, then you're just standing in the way. And your skepticism has become cynicism. And whether or not you realize it, you're a puppet for the corporate Democrats. Do you understand that? So again, a strategic difference is one thing. I get it. So you disagree. I think you're wrong, but you disagree. But you still say, you know what? I agree with the goals. Go ahead. You fight from within. We're going to fight from without as a third party to try to do this thing and do it the right way and get the right policies for the American people. Totally fine. But if you're somebody who says, no, I may agree with the goal, but fuck you, and I don't even root for you even if I'm taking a different path, well then you are a puppet for the corporate Democrats and you don't even realize it. Your skepticism has become cynicism, and it's made you even try to hold other people back who are trying to fight this fight and win this fight. And if not this, what? If not now, when? You tell me. And wouldn't a two-pronged approach be better either way? Trying to do it a third-party route, which other people are working on, and trying to take over the Democratic Party? Or would you rather the Democratic Party just be totally and completely corrupt and concede that the two parties in this country will never represent you, and then what? Again, we lay down in a chalk outline of ourselves? You want to wage a literal revolution and grab some guns and go up against a nuclear-armed state with the most powerful military the world has ever seen? Don't let your skepticism become cynicism. I'm skeptical. I don't know if this is going to work, but I know we have to try. Don't let your skepticism become cynicism, because then you're just standing in the goddamn way and you're a puppet for the corporate Democrats, whether or not you realize it. So we have to fight. We have to win. We have to win. We have to make an impact. And remember, this isn't about me. This isn't about Cenk. This isn't about Shoykat Chakrabarti, one of Bernie's top officials. This isn't about Zach Exley, one of Bernie's top officials, who are doing a lot of the hard work behind the scenes here. This is about you. This is about the American people. This is about the platform that we published. This is about fighting for the things that the American people want and that the American people believe in, and having a government that actually represents them and is no longer corrupt. There's the study that we always mention, that it was a Princeton study. They found that we basically function as an oligarchy. So when you track the policies that end up getting implemented, they're right in line with what the rich want. They're not in line with what you want. If you track what normal people want, regular people want, working people want, Well, you don't get what you want in terms of policy. You rarely, if ever, do. And if you do, it's an accident and it happens to randomly coincide with what the corporations want. So that is a fundamentally broken system, which is why you always have Congress with a rating between 9% and 20%. Even if you just elect them, you come back a month later or 2 months later, 16% approval rating. How can that be in a so-called democracy? Because everybody knows it's a so-called democracy. We want to make it an actual democracy, and we don't only talk the talk, we walk the walk. People come around all the time, Democrats will come around all the time and say the right thing, but they're corporate Democrats, and they're wolves in sheep's clothing. How do you know if it's the real deal? Will they take the pledge to take no corporate money and no billionaire money? That's how you know if this person is the real deal. So that's what Justice Democrats is all about. We need your support. We need you to come help us because this is about you. This is a grassroots movement. We're running regular people. That's who should be in there. Not these elites who were in the good sperm club who went to Harvard because daddy got him in there, and then, oh, look, they get in there, they get elected, and all they do is represent their donors. No, we want regular people. We want working people. It doesn't matter. You can have experience or not have experience. We don't care. Do you believe in the right things? Are you going to fight for the right things? Come join us. JusticeDemocrats.com. Nominate people to run. Sign your name in support. Donate $27. Let's get this thing done. We can't sit around any longer. Nobody's coming to save us. You have to save yourself. We have to save ourselves. So let's do it together. And remember the thing that he said there, Howard Dean, that was most important. He said, they're finally understanding that institutions matter and that they need to get organized. Yeah, that's the only way it's going to get done. We could all, sit around on our computers and type the right things to each other in internet forums or on YouTube. But does anything get done if you do that? No, you have to organize and get together and actually have an infrastructure set up and run people. So that's now what we're doing. And now the establishment is on notice. And the final thing is, I have to give a little correction to Howard Dean. He said that these people, quote, talking about Justice Democrats, and he didn't name us. By the way, say my name, bitch. You will be soon. All the corporate Democrats will be soon. He said, quote, they're now working for the Democrats. Wrong. The Democrats are going to be working for us.